I've been talking a lot lately about indie music, which is a subset of indie culture, independent culture. Why is that important? Because American pop culture has become boring, generic, predictable. I mean, you have a lot of copycat artists, and that's not by accident, and that is not what the public is demanding either. Basically, you have the shrinking of the music biz down to 3 major labels now that control 90% of what's on the radio. For many decades, we had 6 major labels up through the 90s, and then there was all this corporate merger mania stuff due to just Congress saying it's okay, and really wrecked a lot of local culture, and it standardized national culture, which you gotta figure is pathetic in the sense that standardization is good for certain things. Like, it's good for medicine, it's good for airlines, it's good for machinery, because, you know, if you can make universal parts, that's better than 1,000 different companies with different types of parts. So standardization is good in that sense. I think standardization also wrecked people's health in the sense that fast food became very standardized. So that's kind of what happened to music. Just since the mid-90s, oh God, it's been just too standardized, too narrow of formatting, and it is very boring, is what I'm trying to tell you. But what can change that is a return to regionalism. Now, regionalism is important because every region should have its own profile, its own group of artists that it can feed to the national picture, instead of every region being dominated by national programming. It wasn't always like that. I mean, there's always been radio stations everywhere that played national hits, but not to the degree that we're seeing in the past 10 or 15 years, that it's just duplicated sound everywhere, where you can drive from one city to the next and it sounds like the same radio station using the same programming. So it'd be great to get back to indie culture, which is my main point about indie music, is that indie music is a subset of independent culture, which includes independent movies, independent restaurants, independent businesses, and all of that conglomeration of all those different types of independent businesses create a unique local profile so that every city is different. Would you rather that every city be exactly the same every time, like having all the same strip malls? That seems to be what it has become. And it really only started becoming like that, the strip mallization of American culture, since the 80s. Like, it started in the 50s actually, but it wasn't so overblown everywhere where you had the same type of malls everywhere until, like, from the 80s on, it just became all about that. And it's really erased a lot of local culture and local businesses. And the reason why it's important to get back to local businesses and small business in general is because that is the backbone of the country. This country wasn't founded on corporations. In fact, it fought corporations to become an independent country. So next time, you know, you're celebrating the Declaration of Independence, remember that's independence from big corporations. But somehow Wall Street took over again and has really saturated and infiltrated every market, And the funding pretty much comes from the same banks. The same big banks fund all these different cities everywhere to put in strip malls and the same stores everywhere. What really hurt the economy were basically the Wall Street bankers. They're the ones who wrecked it. The only way the government helped wreck it was letting the corporations wreck it. So what needs to be repaired is small biz, and small biz is the key to the economic recovery. Without small biz adding jobs, this country would be in deep trouble because corporations in general haven't helped out one bit with this recession. They've pretty much been laying off thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I read about all these things. HP, once one of the top dogs of tech, is now laying off thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So, and a bunch of corporations have been doing that since 2008. So, getting back to small biz, that's helping out the community, and getting back to independent culture in general is really helping rebuild this country. So I hope you take that into consideration, and it's going to help rebuild Sacramento ultimately, because this town otherwise is full of government jobs. It's like a third of the jobs in Sacramento traditionally have been government, but the government has been downsizing, and that's probably a good thing. Okay, since the California state budget is just out of whack. I mean, the state's deep in debt. So the economic recovery isn't coming from government or corporations, so that means it falls on the shoulders of small biz. Small biz means independent companies, which makes up independent culture. So just remember that you're helping not just your local community, but you're helping the big picture, the national picture, even in the global picture, when you go indie. So support as much independent business as you can, and you'll be doing the world a big favor.